Hi, this is Ian Bland from Blandy Studio and Ninja Tech Support. I've been a music producer for over 26 years and I've been in acts such as Dream Frequency, Dancing Divas, and currently produce for my own label Maison Records and Blandy. Today I'm going to be showing you how I personally use Maschine, a really quick way to get your ideas from Maschine itself in the hardware into your DAWs like Ableton and Logic.
Okay, this is how I like to work with Maschine, or Maschine as the Germans would have us pronounce it. I like to work between the hardware and the software itself. I just find it quite a fluid process where you can get your drums down really quick and then just literally drag them into audio and copy. So you're not actually having to program the Maschine itself in patterns and tempos, which I do find, you know, some people might be on that, but I just find it's just a bit convoluted for what I want. So I'm going to show you bits in Logic, and then later on I'll show you the same process briefly in Ableton. It's very similar process. So what I'm going to do is I've loaded some kits up, one of my Dancing Divas kits. It's just a straightforward sort of 909-ish house kit, and as we can see, the pads are loaded up. So what I usually do is go to step time just to get a 4/4 kick in, make sure that the fixed velocity is on, so that what I'm pressing is going to be fixed. We could do this on the actual software version itself. So I'll generally get a 4/4 kick and just build the beats up from here live, which is a really quick process. So let's get a clap in, and I'm going to go to step mode. So I hover between step mode and real time. So at the moment I'm just looping around a 4-bar loop, and just to sort of let you know that Maschine tallies up with Logic or Ableton's DAW bar length. So if I start on bar 5, it'll generally start every 4th, 8th in variables of 4. It will start on the specific beat, so like 4, 8, 16. So if I start it at 16 here, it'll generally be on bar 1 of whichever pattern I've chose on that, if it's an 8-bar pattern or a 16-bar pattern or whatnot. But at the moment I'm working on 1 bar, and I'm going to lengthen that in a minute. So I've got the kick drum in. Let's get a bit of a clap in. So I'll go to step mode, and then I'm hovering back to clap there. And what I'll do is I'll double this on the fly. So if I press this button here, which tells to double, so now the length's gone to 4 bars, and I can see these 4 bars here by selecting. So that's bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4. I don't know if you can actually see that on the video screen if you zoom in. So I'm back on bar 1, and then I'm going to overdub live. And you'll be able to see, if I just zoom in and out on here, you can see, and we can obviously vary all the claps themselves. And let's get a hat in. I'll try putting that in live. Now at the moment it's on 1-shot mode. So if we go to, I'm using Maschine 2 software. Some of you might be using Studio, which would be slightly different layout, but the principles are still the same. So I want to use that on attack ASDR mode, which is attack, delay, sustain and release. So it's going to give us 4 knobs to play with obviously the attack, delay, sustain and release. And I'm going to back the release off a little bit. So what I can do by doing that, I can get long and short hats, which will give a better feel and a better shuffle. So I'm just going to record some hats in. So you can see the long, short, and we can obviously adjust these. And I'll just take it out of record, and I'm going to go to the swing mode. Logic's Machine's got a really, really nice swing. You can hear the beat swinging as I adjust it. So I'm going to go for 36. And Let's get another clap in. Put it in record. And maybe a snare as well. Same again, the snare is on one shot mode, so I'm just going to put that on a bit of a tighter, so I can do long and short. I'll probably keep it tight actually. So it's in record. So I can take it out of record, and the quickest way I found to bounce, you can actually go to Maschine's preferences or export audio, and you can export sounds here and then drag them into, you know, from the folder you export it to into your DAW. Or what I like to do really quick is, I'll just minimize that, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts that I want to get down really quick. So all I'm going to do is go into Logic Audio and let's create 6 tracks. 6 tracks done, and I'm just going to get the software up again. And the easiest way I found to do it, if I just click that, the drag button, and I drag that onto an audio track, what it'll do is it'll drag the whole pattern as a full composite, which I don't want to do because I want to be able to mix them later on. So easiest way to do is just take these off. We know it's a 4-bar pattern, and obviously I'm going to name these Good Housekeeping and all that. And obviously if I've just had that on, it's just going to be the kick, so then I'll take that off and I'll drag the hats across. Let's name them. And just similar with the rest of the percussion, the claps. Let's call that clap 1. And a snare. So it's a really quick process to do, and I'll tell you the beauty of it in a minute. And lastly, this little clap here. And then once I've bounced these parts, I'm going to mute the Maschine software itself because I don't need that anymore. But the beauty is, if I ever have to go back to, you know, say for instance, I've got my percussion here now in Logic. I can mix them all individually because they're all separate audio parts. I can copy them really quick. So I've got I've got all the goodness and the groove and everything from Maschine, and I've just put it into my DAW straight away, and I can program the song without having to program it through Maschine. But if, for instance, I want to change that hat, and I think, yeah, the pattern's good, but I think the hat's wrong. All I need to do is just delete that, go back into Maschine. I've got the same hat and pattern I did have. Now it's changed that hat. I can just re-drag that in and see what the new hat sounds like. Or I can just play it along. I can just mute the hat that I had. So you can see it's a really fluid way of working between the hardware and the actual software. And you'll always have these patterns to hand. Same, I could copy a bass line in, do the same. So I could go to Maschine and, you know, get some sort of bass sound in. So I can just mute that group there and get a bass sound in. One shot. Okay, let's go for that. So I'm basically just playing on my keyboard here. So I can either record it in Maschine itself by going to pad mode and doing it, but I mean obviously I want to just record it, you know, playing it off the keyboard. So it's one shot at the moment, so I'm going to put it on ADSR. So I've got short and long, and so now I can just play my my part in. I'll just put record. Okay, so that's just the MIDI pattern. Alright, so say I just want that first bit. I thought that was probably the coolest bit. So I've got my bass line in. I could either leave that as is and just play it through MIDI, but to be honest, I just want to bounce that down. So a really easy way is I can stick a groove on it, like a 16C or something. And then just control, hold, bounce in place, and there's my bass. And then with the Maschine, I can just mute that again, and I've still got that pattern, well, that pattern sound. So really quickly, we've built up out of Maschine, we've built up a bass, and you know, some pretty cool drums, and we've got references back to them as well. So let's have a quick look in Ableton and just show you the same process. So here we are in Ableton, and I've just loaded up a rough kit basically just to show you the drag and drop process. I'm just going to literally create a few tracks, and same process as I did in Logic. So I would create the same drum patterns, etc, etc, and then literally just drop them into Ableton one by one, just by muting. And then once I finished, I would just mute the Maschine, and away you go. Some settings in Maschine that you want to make sure that you get right so that everything's in time. Have a quick look. Yeah, I've got a counting of 2 bars and quantize. This is really important. Make sure that your quantize is on play and record, so that every time you put something in Maschine, it will be more or less quantized up. So I hope that's shown you a quick way of working with Maschine. Like I say, you can go as deep as you want into the actual hardware itself, but I just find this a really quick, fluid way of making tracks with the tactileness of hands-on Maschine, doing patterns, etc, etc, but then using the DAW and the software to do the traditional arrange of just copying parts and reversing them and playing around with the audio itself. So any questions, don't hesitate to contact Ninja Tech or Blandy Studios. I hope you've enjoyed this quick tutorial.